Is this the dagger?
G'day guys, JB here. Week 1 of the 2023-24 NBA season is in the books, and as expected, amongst certainly the West, but certainly amongst the East as well, the true best players and true best teams are showing out early. We've had some very expected, but certainly some shaking movements in regards to how the league is starting to shape up and shape out, with players already on the go. Some stellar performances, some somewhat unstellar performances would be the best way to put it, and some interesting results along the way early. Of course, you do have some rookies starting to show out and really show why they are the talk of the town. You have some superstars who, again, are putting their case forward as the best players on the planet, and some teams certainly already putting themselves forward as true contenders. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get into a quick review, well, not a quick review, but a review of Week 1 for the 2023-24 NBA season. And of course, we'll start in the East. We'll go in alphabetical order, much like last week. We'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. They went 2-2 on the week there. Lost their first two games, obviously. First one to Charlotte, 116-110, and their second game, 126-120 there against New York, but did rally to finish 2-2 on the week. They defeated Milwaukee 127-110 and Minnesota 127-113, their leading player throughout the week, and a big reason they turned their week around. Dejounte Murray, 21.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.3 steals and 0.5 blocks on 2 turnovers. Shot 50.7% from the field, 25% from deep, and 86.7% from the free throw line. Ultimate question for Atlanta early on is who will be the player to stabilise the team. At the moment, it looks like if Dejounte Murray can square everything away, then he will be that player. Clint Capella proving to be key as well. Dejounte Murray, a standout efficiency-wise in comparison to Trae Young, who shot sub 40% from the field and sub at 30% from deep on the week. I do believe Crazy Stats had him as their brick of the week, but they're going to need someone just to stabilise this team, to keep everything consistent. And Dejounte Murray, when he's at his best, is certainly that all-star level player, one of the two best two-way players in the league. A guy that was really going to be rivaling Drew Holiday on the perimeter for that kind of mantle there. Had a bit of a downturn last season. He'll look to bounce back, and if he can, Atlanta should be okay on that front there. Over to Boston, and they had one of the best weeks of any team in the league, 3-0 to start the season. Defeated New York 108-104, defeated Miami 119-111, and defeated Washington 126-107, their best player on the week. Jason Tatum, one of the preeminent players in the league, 29.7 points, 8.3 rebounds, 4 assists to go with a steal, and 0.3 blocks on 2.7 turnovers. Efficient scoring splits as well, 55.4 from the field, 37% from deep, and 70% from the free throw line. But I think the question that a lot of people probably aren't asking, I think it's something that's probably going to be determined there, and that's just purely because of the impact of his size. And that is the team, are they on a knife edge with Porzingis' health? Now, it doesn't seem like something that you think about too much, considering Horford's on the bench as well. They've recruited Drew Holiday. And hey, they've got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, one of the best tandems in the league, if not the best tandem in the league, and a guy who, in Tatum, started to really make a case as the best player on the planet last year. But when you really look at the impact that bigger guys around the league are having, when you look at the impact that Porzingis is having on both ends of the floor, don't be shocked if you see the fate of Boston really hinged on his performances. If he starts playing really well, there won't be much of an issue to worry about. However, if he's not playing very well at all, and you do see some injury concerns, don't be surprised if you see some concerns for Boston as well. But they've started off the season really well, 3-0, and they are once again trying to really make a run towards a championship. Over to Brooklyn, had a bit of a shaky start for the season, 1-2 on the week. Lost their opening game to Cleveland in a real nail-biter there, 114-113. They got done by Donovan Mitchell in Game 1. They then got done by Luka Doncic in Game 2, losing that one 125-120, but rallied to win their third game and final game of the week against Charlotte, 133-121. Best player in the week, no doubt about it, for Brooklyn. In fact, he's one of the leading scorers in the very early stages of the season. Cam Thomas, 33 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.7 steals and 0.3 blocks on 1 turnover. Epic efficiency from the field as well at 61.4%. We're talking prime Shaq NBA Finals level efficiency on that, 30 points there, 30 plus points. 30.8% from deep and 83.3% from the free throw line. I think the real basic one there for Brooklyn, when will the team chemistry settle? When will the results follow? When you've got Cam Thomas scoring like this, you've still got Spencer Dinwiddie on the team. You've also got Ben Simmons. You've also got Mikal Bridges. You know, there's plenty of time left in the season for them to balance and really work things out. Just going to be a matter of that chemistry clicking, and I think we'll know more certainly towards the end of November on that one there. Over to Charlotte, they also went 1-2 on the week. They got a win against Atlanta to open the season, which was a little shocking, I think, compared to what pundits were really expecting out of the Hornets. Game 2, lost to Detroit, 111-99. Detroit haven't been looking too bad. And of course, as mentioned there, lost out to Brooklyn. Best player on the week for me was Terry Rozier, 22.3 points, 3.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 0.7 steals, 0.3 blocks, and 2.3 turnovers. Hate to say it, pick of a bad bunch, realistically. 45.5 from the field, 20% from deep, and 76.5 from the free throw line. The big key for Charlotte, Brandon Miller's obviously key. Terry Rozier is obviously key. But LaMelo Ball needs to grow into that contract and grow in line with that contract that he signed in the offseason. Really simple. You're an all-star. You've just picked up $200 million. Play like a superstar who's been paid $200 million. I know the scale is different. I know contracts are different now. I think everyone understands that. But can you really just be an all-rookie member and a Rookie of the Year for $200 million? Got to do a lot to try and turn around that as well. I know he is coming off an injury concern. It is something that he'll look to work through, but going to have to do a lot of work, in my opinion, to really turn that, really grow. Charlotte was probably the most underperforming team all season last year, and they certainly don't want to be stuck in that category again this season. Over to Chicago, and they were really up and down. They did finish the week 2-2. I think it was reflective of their efforts across the board. They did lose opening night to OKC. They were never really in that one, 124-104. Game 2, got a really tight win against Toronto, 104-103. Were never in their game there against Detroit, 118-102 in that loss. But then really turned it around to get the win against Indiana, 112-105. Consistently, the best player across their 4 games was DeMar DeRozan. 23.3 points, 3.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1.3 blocks on 0.8 turnovers. So even without Lonzo Ball, still trying to lift a little bit on the defensive end. He is a, shall we say, competent and effort-putting defender. I wouldn't say that he's a good defender by any stretch. 44.6% from the field, 25% from deep, and 78.1% from the free throw line. And the real question is, who else is going to lock on defensively? I mean, you look at the way that team is structured, look at the way that team is built. Alex Caruso is the only guy that's going to be able to do it. So they're really going to need someone else to step up and really play that mantle. Consistent basketball is what the Bulls have got to aim for this year. They didn't play more than a week and a half of consistent basketball last season. It ultimately cost them, and it could ultimately cost them again if they're not careful. The offensive load is there. There's a lot of talk about what that team's going to look like and what that team's going to be able to do. Vucevic has stepped up where he needs to. Of course, Levine has already seen a 50-piece this season, but you're 2-2. You know, there's a lot of talent and a lot of ability there. You've got to show more than that. So we'll see where the Bulls end up at, but I think 2-2 is a fair record considering their opponents and their level of play. Over to Cleveland, 1-2 on the week for them. Really interesting week. Got a nice big win, a tight win I should say, against Brooklyn to open the season, 114-113. A tight loss to OKC, 108-105, and then were never really in their game against Indiana, 125-113. Best player on the week for me, though, for them was Evan Mobley. 19 points, 11.7 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 2.3 blocks on 1.3 turnovers. Pretty efficient as well from the field, 48.9%. When you consider the 100% from 3, and made 3 of every 4 free throws as well. I think the question is, what's going to happen with Max Strus with this team? Isaac Okoro, another question as well, particularly when Jarrett Allen returns. The talk is that they're looking to trade Jarrett Allen. He's a one-time All-Star, and I think the big reason they would be looking to do that is to really capitalise on Mobley and look to build on him as their next big rookie sensation. Obviously, Kyrie and LeBron, the only real 2 of the last 20 years. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because we've seen it a lot around the league. You can't really remove those experienced guys, those glue guys, those veteran-style guys without it going pear-shaped. So it'll be interesting to see how Cleveland attack it. Mobley clearly capable. You then obviously have Garland. You do obviously have Mitchell as well to work with. And Strus had a really nice game in that matchup against Brooklyn as well. So they do have some key pieces. I just don't know if getting rid of Jarrett Allen is going to be the key on that one there. But certainly if they can utilise Evan Mobley, one of the better power forwards in the league, no doubt about that one there. As we head on over to Detroit, they went 2-2, and they've really started to shock a few teams and a few players, and certainly a few pundits around the association. 2-2 start. A lot of people wouldn't have picked them to be anywhere near that to start their outlook. I mean, certainly just looking across their week there, I would have predicted probably 1-3. They managed to snag 2-2, and very well could have been 3-1 in a really tight opening game there. Lost to Miami 103-102, got the win against Charlotte 111-99, got the win against Chicago 118-102, and then went down to OKC 124-112. Their best player for me, Jalen Duren, really stepping up in his second year, really breaking out, and certainly did in that opening week. 15.5 points, 13.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 0.8 steals, and 2 blocks a game. 2.8 turnovers on top as well, but shot 68.3% from the field, didn't attempt a three, made 2/3 of his free throws, and it's going to be a matter of how this team can foster the talent of Duren. They've got a lot going on for them at the moment. They've got a really okay mix there when you look at the likes of a Joe Harris. Bogdanovic has still got to come back into the team, of course, but when you look at some of the youth that's with them, when you look at the ability there, it's a matter of fostering it. Detroit's not necessarily known outside of that Bad Boys team and the development of Grant Hill. There's not really a lot of young development that's ever truly come out of this Detroit team. I mean, you look at the mismatches that were the 04 Pistons. It wasn't a team they necessarily drafted and fostered and built into this great franchise organisation. So we'll see how they go with it there, but I think the real question is how they foster this talent of Duren, managing it with Cunningham, etc., just to see where the team gets to there. Of course, moving on over to the Pacers there of Indiana. 2-1 on the week, had a nice start, probably could have been 3-0. Felt that they really just slipped towards the end of the week. Got an easy 2 wins to start against Washington and Cleveland, and then had that real quiet game there against Chicago, as you can see. Their best player for me, Tyrese Halliburton, one of the best point guards, and certainly still in that traditional mould of a pure point guard, if you want to use that term there. 20 points, 5.3 rebounds, 12.3 assists, 1 steal, 0.7 blocks on 2.7 turnovers, the kind of form that saw him at All-NBA level last year. And for me, if the MVP race was being run right now, would certainly be a top 10 candidate. 45.8% from the field, 33.3% from deep, and 90% from the free throw line. I think the real question with this Indiana team is going to be based on the health and the performance of Halliburton. I think he is that important. If he's going to make and maintain an All-NBA level form, which he has at the moment, then there's certainly no reason why you couldn't assume that the Pacers weren't going to make a pretty big run at it. So if you can maintain that All-NBA form, if you can maintain that level of fitness and continue to get his teammates involved, I think and Indiana will be fine. I think they're going to certainly look to push towards the playoffs again this season. Down to Miami, 1-3 on the week, and it very well could have been 0-4. There were really not many great positives to come out of the week, other than the fact that they snuck home against Detroit. As you can see there, opening night 103-102. Outside of that, lost to Boston 119-111, lost to Minnesota 106-90, and lost to Milwaukee 122-114. Their best player for the week, Tyler Hero, 25.3 points, 5.3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.3 steals, did not record a block on 2 turnovers, but the efficiency really not there, really subpar. Even when you factor in all the 3-point shooting, 42% from the field shouldn't cut it for anyone in the league. 38.2% from deep is sweet, but at this point, if he's going to be as efficient just shooting threes, only take threes. It's really that simple. 93.3 from the free throw line, so clearly has the shooting stroke, but 42% from the field. What are you doing outside of the arc? A lot of questions need to be asked. But the real question is right now, particularly as we get further down the list, are Miami now a contender for Joel Embiid? You know, what sort of level are we going to see? What sort of talk are we really seeing behind closed doors there in Miami? Seems like they slept The rumour has it they fell asleep. Pat Riley was asleep at the deadline last year. They then made the NBA Finals. Make of that as you wish. All of a sudden, it looks like Joel Embiid's going to be more susceptible to moving than ever before, particularly with the latest movements of teammates or former teammates, I should say. So are they a contender? It's going to be really interesting. There are a couple of talks there. Of course, you've got to remember the luxuries that seem to appear when you play with Pat Riley, when you play with the Heat, all the bonuses of having a sports team down in Florida. So we'll see what goes on there. But Miami 1-3, and certainly very lucky they were not 0-4 to start the season. Over to Milwaukee, one of their arch rivals, and a team that got a very nice win against the aforesaid Miami Heat. Went 2-1 on the week. A big opening week for them, particularly to start a 1-point win over Philadelphia. Did lose out to Atlanta, something that they will not be impressed about. 127-110, of course, beat the Heat 122-114. Their best player for me, as much as Dame had a huge opening night as a Buck, I do feel that Giannis was still their best player. 27.3 points, 10 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 1 steal and 1.7 blocks. We are going to see a lot more of a roaming Giannis defensively this season. 55.4% from the field, 14.3% from deep, and 63.3% from the free throw line. Honestly, the question is offensively, can you guard this team? Can you guard Giannis and Dame? That pick and roll's scary. If you're going to not guard the roller in Giannis, you're going to give him an open run to the hoop. He's not going to pick and pop. You need to always go over at very minimum hedge and show with Dame. So there's a lot going on here, particularly if they're going to let Dame be the closer in the fourth. I would be very happy to turn around and say that Dame Lillard was going to be the closer in the fourth, probably drag a double team and leave someone like Giannis undermanned. So we'll see how that one goes, see how it continues to progress there, but a really interesting makeup of a team down there right now. Up there right now for Milwaukee. We'll see how that one goes. It's going to be a really tough guard, no matter what way you look at it there. Over to New York, and they got a 1-2 start on the week. They'll be pretty disappointed as well. They'll feel they let one slip against Boston, and certainly did not turn up to play at all against New Orleans, losing to the Celtics, as we mentioned, 108-104. Got the win against Atlanta, 126-120, something they will be happy about, a sort of a mini rivalry that's built over time there. And, of course, they lost to the New Orleans Pelicans, 96-87. RJ Barrett, their best performer on the week, 22.7 points, 3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 0.7 steals and 0.3 blocks, and a little under 2 turnovers a game. 47.1 from the field, 37.5 from deep, 82.4 from the free throw line. And, again, much like Miami, in these sweepstakes potentially for a Joel Embiid move, is the weight of that potential trade showing early for some of these guys. I mean, I'm not saying they're tanking, I'm just saying that you're not going to want to take players who aren't shooting efficiently and playing to their peak for a guy who's sitting in his zenith coming off an MVP season. So it'll be interesting as the season progresses, certainly as the month progresses here in November, exactly what's going on there with the Knicks. But yeah, it's really interesting. Only one or two guys that sort of obviously are playing freely because they probably feel a little safer on that roster. Ironically, the other guy is Brunson, and they're pretty much the only two players, Barrett and Brunson, that haven't been spoken about in any form of trade if Embiid was going to go to New York. So we'll continue to monitor and see how that one pans out. But yeah, New York, they're going to be dirty. They probably feel they should have been 2-1. You can handle at least one loss out of 3, but certainly not when one of them is to Boston, and certainly when you fail to score even 90 points in a modern NBA game against the Pelicans. Over to Orlando, and they had probably could have had a 3-0 week, and they had a really nice performance throughout. They went 2-1 to open up the season. Nice win against Houston by 30 points, controlling win against Portland by 5. Then went down to the Lakers in what was a really tight game there, and pretty much just saw the seniority of the Lakers come over the top there. Cole Anthony, the best player for me for the Magic, 16.7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 0.3 blocks on less than a turnover, 46.2% from the field, 41.7 from deep, and 69.2 from the stripe. The big thing for me for Orlando, and it's going to be the big thing that ultimately decides their season, I feel, when are they going to increase Jonathan Isaac's minutes? I know he's got to play himself into shape, but you've got to get this guy playing 30 minutes a night. He's one of the elite defenders of the league, has been when he's been on the floor over the last 4-5 seasons. I don't know anyone that's going to argue that point. Yes, he's been injured. Most people understand he's been injured, but if he's healthy, particularly with this young team that can run, that can gun, that can score, why not have a guy that's uber athletic that's going to start a break, who's a really good defender, who's going to increase your chances of winning by, loosening up everyone else's game defensively, allowing them to be more free offensively. We'll see how it goes, but I really just think if Jonathan Isaac's minutes are going to be limited, then so's Orlando's potential this season. Speaking of potential this season right now, oh boy, one of the teams the whole world is talking about around the NBA, the Philadelphia 76ers, they went 2-1 to start the week. They did lose that tight one against Milwaukee, and then after claiming the scalps of Toronto and Portland, will probably feel that they've missed the opportunity to go 3-0 and really stake a claim there on the season. Starting off really well, though, trying to bounce back off a really subpar playoff performance after an MVP season. Joel Embiid, 31 points, 10.3 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, and 3 blocks a game on 3.7 turnovers. Pretty reasonable splits as well. 54.7% from the field, 42.9% from deep, 65.4% from the free throw line. I suppose the question is now, especially with James Harden being traded, will Harden and Embiid both be traded away? I mean, we're 10 years into the process here for Philadelphia and they've never left the second round. Really reaching those Blake Griffin, James Harden level of criticisms. Now, obviously, they're trying to trust the process. Everyone gets that, everyone understands that. But is this the right time now to rebuild when you're going to get absolute peak value for your star? We'll see how it unfolds. I think there's plenty up their sleeve. Daryl Morey, regretfully, as much as I don't like saying it, is one of the better general managers in the league. So we'll see how that one unfolds. But yeah, just for Joel Embiid, it's going to be a put up or shut up moment. He either stays with the team, he works with the team, looks to try and to continue to push it. Otherwise, I think he's out the door. And I mean, my money would have to be on Miami or New York. It's one of the two. I would just feel that Pat Riley might have that little extra step. I don't know why. I don't trust Dolan. So I just think that a little extra step would probably go to Pat Riley in that instance there. We'll see how that unfolds. Over to Toronto, they went 1-3 on the week. Wasn't ideal for them and had a couple of games there. Could have potentially been 3-1. Finished 1-3. They got the win against Minnesota to open the week, 97-94. Lost to Chicago, 104-103. Lost to Philadelphia, 114-107. And lost to Portland, 99-91. So they're thereabouts on the mark, but they need to close games out. Best player on the week for the Raptors, no doubt about it, Scotty Barnes, 20.8 points, 9.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1 steal, and 2.5 blocks a game. A really solid effort by the big man there in Toronto. 4 turnovers as well. Shot 52.3% from the field, 33.3% from deep, and 76.9% from the free throw line. My question right now, and this probably speaks more to their lack of offensive prowess, can a losing team have 2 all-defensive team members? I think the answer at the moment for Toronto, if they keep playing at this pace, the answer may have to be yes. OG Anunoby is playing unbelievable defense, has for the last couple of years. Scotty Barnes, one of the best young power forwards in the league. He's a good defender as well. The Raptors need to really pick up offensively because they're letting down the defensive side of the ball, and it's really clear right now from the way this one is being played and the way both teams are the way the team's performing. You can't have 2 of the preeminent interior and exterior defenders having their talent go to waste because no one else can put the ball in the basket. And that reminds me, they're both 2 of their best offensive players. So we'll see how that one goes for Toronto. They really just need to lock in offensively because defensively, there's no doubt about it, they're clear and ready to go on that front there. Finally, in the Eastern Conference, the Washington Wizards, 1-2 on the week. Lost to Indiana, were pretty much blown out in that one there. Beat Memphis, who have no presence on the glass or genuine offensive threat right now. And then lost to Boston, one of the best teams in the league. They were never going to be in touch with them. So a really interesting week there for the Wizards. Their best player for me was Kyle Kuzma, 22.3 points, 6.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.3 steals and 0.7 blocks a game on 0.7 turnovers. And when you factor in the 48.2% from the field, a reasonably efficient week. Not a great week, but a reasonably efficient week there for Kuzma. 25% from deep, not ideal in the modern game, but 88.9% from the stripe. So has been striking it where he needs to. Big question, and it's one that's just, as much as you want to really be sympathetic to the Golden State situation, it's very hard to when you wonder, how he appears to make things hard. Jordan Poole just seems to make things appear or look hard, which doesn't really make much sense for a guy who was a genuine second option on a championship team 2 years ago. So, I don't know. It's going to be fun times ahead for Washington if the very casual approach of Jordan Poole with that big money is going to cost them games. That's just my observation. I think there's probably a little bit more to it, but my observation to it there's still a little bit of work to do. Still a little bit of work to do there. We'll see how the Wizards play it out. Top 10 of the East so far. 1 through 6. The Celtics, the Pacers, the Magic, the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Pistons. And then the play-in tournament right now. The Bulls, the Hawks, the Cavaliers, and the Nets. We'll see how that continues to morph and move. I wouldn't be banking too heavily on it to be changing too much. Particularly early on, we might see some bolters here or there. But overall, it just appears to be the way the land and the way the league is set so far. Of course, best player in the Eastern Conference. Shouldn't shock anyone there. 3-0 record with 35.9 minutes per game. Jason Tatum, as we mentioned there in those 3 wins for Boston, 29.7 points, 8.3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 0.3 blocks on 2.7 turnovers. 55.4 from the field, 31% from deep, 70% from the free throw line. The leader and the best player on one of, if not the best team in the East. A really strong showing for him this week. Again, we'll continue to push, continue to see exactly how this one's going to unfold for Boston. I do think their health is a big concern. I think their chemistry is a concern. But there's really no reason to suggest this team can't do it. At the moment, there's no reason to suggest that Jason Tatum can't continue to lead them. Had an absolute monster week, backing up most of the numbers that he put up last year. So, well done to Jason Tatum. A good solid start there for Boston. And overall, the Eastern Conference looking very, very interesting in the very early stages of the 23-24 season. Moving over to the Western Conference now, and we head all the way to start as we do. Per normal, we'll start with the Clippers, who had a 2-1 week. Got the W against Portland, 123-111. Lost at the Utah, 121-18. Probably should have got the win there. And managed to get the W over the Spurs, 123-83 in the opening week there. Best performer for me, Paul George, 27.3 points, 3.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.7 steals on 2.3 turnovers. No blocks recorded there for Paul George. Pretty good shooting splits as well. Generally has this efficient level of play. 54.9 from the field, 39.1 from deep, and 100% from the line. The big question, though, is has James Harden just killed their championship chances? I just think it's too big of a chemistry kill for that team. I think it really discombobulates them. Now, full credit to Jerry West and the work he's done to keep together 1 through 9, one of the best rotations in the league as far as the top-heavy starting 5. A really good rotation there, 6 through 9. I think they've done really well. But the chemistry, I just don't think is going to work. And I think all of a sudden Russ is back relegated to a position that's just not going to work. James Harden's not going to take any accountability. What's the health of Paul George and Kawhi going to be like? We will see. But I don't like the chemistry fit here for James Harden. I don't like the chemistry fit anywhere for James Harden. So we'll see how this one goes. But I do think that Harden may have just killed their chances at a championship. We then move over, and it's really easy from there, to the Dallas Mavericks. 3-0 on the week. Got the win against San Antonio in a big game in Wemby's debut. Got the win against Brooklyn in a really big, tight game there, and got the win against Memphis as well. Pretty simple. Almost the best player in the league statistically this last week. Luka Doncic, 39 points, 11.7 rebounds, 9.7 assists, 1 steal and 0.3 blocks a game on 3.3 turnovers. Efficient scoring as well, 55.6 from the field and 48.6 from deep, 70.4% from the free throw line as well. The real question, though, is who's going to be the efficient second option on the team? Because at the end of the day, it's all well and good to have this guy pouring in points, getting rebounds, getting assists and dominating the ball. But if there really isn't an efficient second option, then it really just becomes a matter of, well, we'll stand around and watch Luka and hope we get a touch. That's what's really killed the team so far. So, as far as going any further in the playoffs. So they're winning at the moment, but it'll be interesting. They're going to have to really make the most out of that throughout the season, just to see if they can find an efficient second option. Someone has to be 20 points a game next to Luka if he's going to be putting this up, and at least at that 50% mark. You can't have anything less than that, especially with a ball-dominant player such as Doncic. Over to Denver, 4-0 on the week. Brilliant start for the defending champion Nuggets. Defeated the Lakers 119-107, defeated Memphis 108-104, defeated OKC 128-95, and got through Utah 110-102. Best player on the planet, Nikola Jokic, 26.5 points, 12.3 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 0.5 steals, and a block on 4 turnovers. Extremely efficient from the floor, 64.7 from the field, 42.9% from deep, making 2/3 of his free throws. The question is, can the KISS game plan continue to survive? Keep it simple, stupid. And that's really all they do. They have a point centre, and everyone else plays around him, and generally plays really, really well. We'll see how it continues to pan out. Very top-heavy starting lineup. You've just seen what the Clippers have done. Again, I don't think that's of any impact. At the end of the day, they're still winning games, and they've got the best player on the planet to do it, and it's very hard to compete when your point guard is the centre and your point guard's number one option, but he's 7 foot. So there's a lot going on there for Denver. I think it's only a positive for them. It's getting annoying how good they are for people, because they just play basketball. They don't do anything fancy. They just play basketball. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, obviously key figures in all of this, but if they're just going to continue to play like that, continue to be efficient, then hey, why can't they repeat? That's the kind of team they are at the moment. So we'll see how that one pans out. We'll see how that one plays. Still a lot of time left in the season, of course, but they're playing some really good basketball early, are the Denver Nuggets. Moving over to Golden State, and they started sluggish there against Phoenix in what was a really scrappy affair. No one really knew what to make of that game there, but really bounced back, and a solid week to end it, 3-1. Again, lost to the Suns, but defeated the Kings 122-114, defeated the Rockets 106-95, and defeated New Orleans 130-102. Their best player, Steph Curry, 33.5 points, 5.3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.3 blocks on 2.5 turnovers, 55.8 from the field, 47.1 from deep, and 92.3% from the free throw line. Utterly ridiculous, as always, with the efficiency. And I suppose the real question there that's going to affect chemistry is, can Chris Paul accept that he's not being the cultural success of this team? Everywhere we've seen Chris Paul go since his Clippers days, he's been the reason for any success. The cultural impact of that team's success. Houston got to the heights that they were at with Chris Paul. OKC started their resurgence with Chris Paul. Phoenix did what they did with Chris Paul. He's not going to be that now. Now, if you can willingly take that step back and accept it, get into more of a passing option with this team of scorers, you're looking at a different kind of ball club. But if he's going to try and be Chris Paul and just be selfish, then I certainly don't see the team getting as far as they need to do. But a 3-1 start's really good. I think Chris Paul's slowly working his way into that system there for Golden State. Meanwhile, over to Houston, and they're not working anything out at the moment. My Rockets, 0-3. They've lost everything. Their best player is Alperen Şengün, and even then, he's not having the greatest start to the season either. When you look at how he's playing from the free throw line and the lack of support that he's getting, clearly still being their best player though. So, my big question for the Rockets is, I hope they've scouted the best player in the upcoming draft, because that's who they should keep their eyes on. And that's pretty much all I've got for Houston. They have been the worst performed team of anybody right now, and that's not even, there are teams that have lost 3 games, there are teams that have lost 4 games, but they have not looked convincing in any of their games whatsoever. Even against the Spurs, they look very lackluster. That will be the best way that I will describe the Rockets' season so far. Not a fan at all. Moving over to the other side of Los Angeles, we've already talked about the Clippers. Now we'll talk about the Lakers. They went 2-2 in the week. Their best player, Anthony Davis, 25.8 points, 13.8 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and doing his usual defensive effort, 1.5 steals, 2.8 blocks, 1.3 turnovers, an efficient overall game from Anthony Davis. so far, 52.7 from the field, 42.9 from deep, 88% from the stripe. For the Lakers, lost opening night against Denver, defeated the Suns in a tight one, lost to Sacramento in a tight one, defeated Orlando in a tight one to end the season, in the week. Real question is, though, can they mix it with the best in the West? And I just don't know if they're going to have the legs in them. I just don't know if they're going to have the consistency in them to do it. They've had a really great start. Anthony Davis has had a really great start. How healthy can he be? LeBron James has shown spurts here or there continuously while he is one of the great players. But again, this is a man that's going to be on a minutes restriction, who's the oldest man in the league. A lot of questions going on with the Lakers there. Their best basketball looks really good, but the problem is they're not always playing their best basketball. And it's what's costing them overall. I mean, this really could have been a 3-1 week for the Lakers, and we're looking at them as a different side. But 2-2 changes things. Anthony Davis having really good. I just wonder whether they can truly mix it with the absolute best teams in the Western Conference. It'll be interesting to see just how that one unfolds. Here's a team right now that's not mixing it with anyone. In fact, probably only mixing it with Houston. And at least they've been able to get some decent possessions and effort out of some of their best players. And that's the Memphis Grizzlies, despite the 0-4 week. Desmond Bane with a pretty solid output so far. 25.5 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 0.5 blocks on 2.8 turnovers. Shot just under 49% from the field, just over 35% from deep and 88% from the line. Lost out to Denver, lost out to New Orleans, lost out to Washington, oh boy, and lost out to Dallas as well. The big question is, how much help is Bismack Biyombo really going to be on the glass? They're missing that presence of Steven Adams, hauling in 6 offensive rebounds, let alone 12 a game. They're missing Ja Morant, averaging 25, 26 points a night. That's evident. But the one thing I can't do is I can't fault those that are on the floor, because they're really trying their best. So the real question for me, Biyombo's looking to come into this side. He's meant to take that presence defensively and on the glass of Adams. How much he can do it, I don't know. It's going to be a bit of a tight walk for him. It's something I think they can do, but certainly a tightrope walk for it. Let's see what Memphis can do. They've still got a little bit of time before Ja Morant gets back. They've still got a fair bit of time there until Biyombo really finds his feet. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what the Grizzlies are going to be able to pull out in this one. From Memphis to Minnesota, we go to the Timberwolves, who went 1-2 on the week. Lost out in a really tight one to Toronto, so it could have been 2-1 overall. Defeated Miami by 16 and lost by 14 against Atlanta. Best player, Anthony Edwards, 25.3 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 0.3 steals, didn't record a block on around that 3 turnover mark, which based on possession has just become normal for star players today. 44.4 from the field, 60% from deep, 88.9 from the line, so he's definitely got that shooting stroke there from deep and when it matters. The real question is, when will they free Rudy Gobert up from a forced offensive option? Trying to just force feed him the ball and force feed him the ball and force feed him the ball isn't going to make him a reliable third option. To make him a reliable third option, you just have to go with him when he's genuinely the third option, not on every second dump down pass in the low block or every single diversion when the defense collapses down on the drive. It doesn't make any sense. Let him naturally get his 10 to 15 points. Let him get on the glass. Let him play defense. Team is going to be far better for it. It'll be interesting to see how Minnesota adapt to that. But Anthony Edwards with a good start to the season. We go over to New Orleans, who are a team that are probably playing better than we expected. It's certainly having a bit of a dip. 2-1 to start the season. Got the win against Memphis. Again, they're yet to defeat anyone, though. Got a decent win against New York in a bit of a grind-out, scrappy affair. Couldn't get it done against Golden State. Not that is any form of shock there. Best player, Zion Williamson. 22 points, 5.7 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 0.7 steals on 2.7 turnovers. And an efficient scoring range, as we know, 57.1% from the field, yet to make a 3, and 55.6 from the line. Plenty to work with there. But it's the same thing that happened to New Orleans last year. Get the ball in the hands of the guys who can score and score efficiently. CJ McCollum shouldn't be one of your leading shot takers. It's that simple. If he's not efficient, get the ball out of his hands. Basketball does become really simple at times. This is a really simple thing. Addition by subtraction. We're going to gain more if he shoots less. Great leader, there's no doubt about it, but CJ McCollum should be taking 16 shots on your side. You need to try and get at least 6 of those shots out of his hands into someone else. Let McCollum just run the team as a point guard. Let him run it as an actual unit in the locker room. He doesn't need to lead it on the floor. That's why you've got Ingram. That's why you've got Williamson. Keeping it really simple should be their game plan from here. Speaking of keeping it simple, that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is just continuing to dominate the game and stamp himself as one of its best players, leading Oklahoma City to a 3-1 league record through a week, and one of the best records on the week. Got the win against Chicago in Game 1, win against Cleveland in Game 2, lost out to Denver in Game 3, but then put their stamp on everything against Detroit in Game 4. As I mentioned there, SGA, big week, 26 points, 7.3 rebounds, 6.3 assists, 2.5 steals and 0.8 blocks on 2.8 turnovers. So looking nice and efficient there overall. 48.2% from the field's nothing to scoff at. 35.7% from deep is reliable, and 95% from the free throw line. If you're going to take them, you've got to make them, and that's exactly what he does. I think the question is he the best shooting guard in the NBA? I don't have a reason to say he's not. He's very good offensively as far as scoring the basketball. He's very good at getting numbers on the defensive end, which means he has to put in a little bit of effort. And then he starts rounding things out as well. I mean, there's not much more that you can ask for from a guy who has that case as the best two guard on the planet. And that's your Anthony Edwards, that's your Devin Booker level of class there. Having a really good start to the season, just picking up where he left off from. SGA just continuing to show why he's one of the best players in the league, and why he's been one of the most unsung players in the league for a while, until last season when Oklahoma City said, right, you're going to play 60-odd games. Rolls out on the floor and everyone goes, yep, you know what, he might just be the best shooting guard in the league. Pretty big compliment to get. Speaking of best of and the other best shooting guard in the league, we do head over to the Phoenix Suns. 2-1 on the week. Defeated Golden State and defeated Utah whilst losing to the Lakers. Best performing player for that team on the week, Kevin Durant, 27.7 points, 8.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 0.7 steals, 1 block on 4 turnovers. Efficiency down early on the season, however, he's older, give him plenty of time. It's no different to LeBron. You know, just let these guys warm up and see how they go. The big question is, can anyone effectively defend their offense? When things are really starting to tick and really on fire, I just don't know how you cover those 3 guys. Oh, we talk about Devin Booker being one of, if not the best two guard in the league. Well, let's look at Kevin Durant, who's still got a case as one of, if not the best small forward in the league. He's 35 years old. Very interesting times ahead. Bradley Beal, another guy who, when he's on, is one of the 5-6 best shooting guards in the league. They've got plenty of perimeter depth. The question is, how do you effectively defend the offense? I'm glad I'm not a scout. I'm glad I don't need to work that one out. That is above my pay grade. Someone else can look at that one there. But Phoenix with a really solid start. They are looking like health might be the only thing that does derail them early. But they are making a very solid case as to why they may very well be the best in the West. Moving over to Portland, and I do apologise to Portland fans. This is the only recent photo of Malcolm Brogdon I could find, and it is from the 22-23 NBA season. They went 1-3 on the week. Wasn't really impressive there. Lost to the Lake, lost to the Clippers, lost to Orlando, lost to Philadelphia. Got a win eventually against Toronto. Their best player was Malcolm Brogdon, 19.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, 4 assists, 0.3 steals a game. This is really effective off the bench, but it's at a point there where at times he's had to really step up and lead, particularly with Simons now out up to 6 weeks with that injury. 44.1% from the field, 41.7% from deep, and 70% from the free throw line. This is the chance for Scoot Henderson to shine. This is the moment where you go, you know what, you've already started making up who your players of the week are going to be, who your rookie of the year is going to be, and I think it's clear it's going to be Holmgren, and then it's going to be Wemby competing there. But for Scoot, this is his chance. He's got about a 5-week period to really show why he's one of the best rookies in the league. why he was a number 2 pick, and certainly wanted to put him ahead of the likes of a Brandon Miller, who've had an okay start in Charlotte. So we'll see what Scoot can do. He is young, he is energetic, but it's a matter of wondering just exactly where he stands amongst the league's echelon, and particularly the rookies of the league's echelon. Over to Sacramento, 2-1 on the week. Got a win against Utah, 130-114. Shootout there between De'Aaron Fox and Steph in Golden State, against Golden State. Just saw the Warriors get the win. And then then getting the job done against the Lakers, 132-127. One of the preeminent signings to any shoe brand in the league right now, De'Aaron Fox. He's averaged 31.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.7 blocks on 2.7 turnovers, 48.6 from the field, and it's the efficiency at the line and the free throw line that really should capture. 37.5 from deep, 81% from the line. This is a guy who likes shooting it from deep, can stroke it from deep, but is self-aware enough to know, hey, I need to get to the line, I need to work on a couple of things in the game here if I can. And the real question is, have Sacramento done anything defensively in their team to change their structure and look at it? Or have they pretty much just gone back to trying to outscore opponents constantly? Interesting tactic, and it'll be really, really key to see exactly what they do. I just don't know if just trying to run the offense up is really what's going to win them, particularly now that you look how Denver starts scouting things, how you're looking at things, particularly now with the Clippers, how you're looking defensively with the Spurs, how do you compete with the Suns, is your offense enough to run with it? I'm not too sure. Really interesting times ahead there for Sacramento, but they continue to play some really good basketball. Again, De'Aaron Fox signing that shoe deal with Under Armour, battling backwards and forwards for that Curry brand there with Steph Curry really having a dip. But Sacramento have started out really strong once again. Nearly there now with San Antonio, 1-2 on the week. We got their inaugural win against Houston in a bumper game. Went down in a tough one to Dallas and just was simply not good enough going up against the Clippers. Devin Vassell, clearly the best player for the Spurs for me. I did think Wemby played well. I don't think he was as good as Vassell was. 20.7 points, 3 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 1 steal, 1.7 turnovers. Shot 55% from the field, 31.3 from deep, 76.5 from the stripe. I am a reasonably hard marker when it comes to efficiency. It is one of, if not the key, for deciding a player's value for me. When will Wemby shine against top teams is going to be the real question. Not a great showing against Dallas, not a great showing against the Clippers. Got the job done against Houston and was clearly the best player there, but his consistency just isn't there. Again, it's something to really say that we're saying this about a 19-year-old kid. You go and get any 19-year-old on the planet, try and screw their head on after giving them all the hype that Wemby's had. Wouldn't be anywhere near it. So we do need to consider that. Wemby's a 19-year-old kid. We can't expect him to be jumping out of the gym and doing absolutely everything perfectly at 19 yet. Still a lot of time to go there. And finally, over to Utah. They went 1-3 on the week. Collected that L against Sacramento. Got the win against the Clippers in a really tight one. Then lost to Phoenix and then lost to Denver. Haven't really been in it all week. Lauri Markkanen continues to be their best player. 25 points, 9.8 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 0.8 steals and blocks on 1.8 turnovers. Okay efficiency as well. Just under 47% from the field, over 43% from deep, and over 92% from the free throw line. So a really big effort there from Markkanen. Real question is, particularly with the addition of Collins, is when will that chemistry of their bigger players start to kick in? The second that happens, it's going to be no different to anything else that we've seen before. They're a team of mismatches. They're a team that likes to get in and have a go. Again, you look at Clarkson, you look at Sexton, and you look at Markkanen. Had some really, really nice plays and some really nice runs last season. It is just a matter of staying healthy, but I wonder with Collins whether he's affected Walker Kessler and how that's going to unfold as well. So we will see. But yeah, the Jazz just waiting for that chemistry of their bigs to kick in, chemistry of their players to fit in, and then I think they're going to have a really solid base to go with from there. From top 10 in the East, as we saw in our last wrap, to top 10 of the West. Here is how the West currently sits right now. 1 through 6, the Nuggets, the Mavericks, the Warriors, the Thunder, the Suns, and the Kings. And I tell you what, just having a look at that there, I think that's going to be really tough to crack into that 6. The Clippers may have a chance there, but There's really not much else going on there in the West. Things starting to sort themselves out early, and no shock to see some of, if not the 4 best players in the West right now representing the 4 best teams in the West. I do feel that strongly about how good it has been so far and just how good those particular individuals have been. Finally, Western Conference Player of the Week was a tough one, but I had to go with the dude that's played more games, who's had just as much impact, and to me is responsible for all 4 of those wins as the number 1 player on the game, and that's Nikola Jokic. 34.1 minutes a game, 4-0 record in 4 games, 26.5 points, 12.3 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 0.5 steals, and a block a game on 4 turnovers. He's the point centre. He's the effective point centre. He's the efficient point centre. There's not much more that you can ask for there in that realm. A sensational effort. I've got him leading the candidacy for MVP right now. I've got him as the best player in the West, and he has been an absolute cornerstone right now just with the way that his team has been playing. Anyway, guys, that's been me with my wrap with week 1 of the 23-24 NBA season. A lot of water under the bridge already so far. As we mentioned, some exciting rookie performances, some great individual superstar performances, and teams looking to really take shape. So, should be an interesting week 2, and we'll see what the NBA has in store for us there. Anyway, guys, that's been me with my wrap for week 1 of the 2023-24 NBA season. Thank you for tuning in. I'm out.